Christian Dior was born on January 21st, 1905, in Normandy, France. Although he was raised in a wealthy family, his fashion career had a modest beginning.
He had to make his own way in the world. He did this by selling fashion illustrations, and this gave him an entree into the house of Lucien Lelong, and that's where he learned how to design clothes.
In 1946, Dior opened his own design house and revolutionized fashion with his first collection.
During the war years, because of fabric rationing, clothing became very subtle and almost boring. And when Dior introduced this new look post-World War II, it really was about opulence.
The Christian Dior new look was the complete opposite of what had been fashionable for the 5 previous years. Dior brought the shoulder in and sloped it, and he nipped in the waist, and he had incredibly full skirts that dropped down to the ankle.
During the 1950s, Christian Dior was indisputably the most famous fashion designer in the world.
He was famous for dressing Grace Kelly and making these women so glamorous by just accentuating their femininity.
A brilliant businessman as well as designer, Dior created a fashion empire. Christian Dior died of a heart attack in 1957.
Dior had such a profound impact on fashion that we tend to forget how short his career really was. In just a decade, he managed to create a legend and a legacy that is still with us today.
Gabrielle Bonheur Chanel was born in Saumur, France on August 19, 1883. As Coco Chanel, she revolutionized women's fashion. But as a young woman, Chanel struggled with a dark childhood.
Coco Chanel grew up in a convent, an orphanage, and that was where she learned how to sew.
Chanel became the mistress of Englishman Arthur Boy Capel and was able to finance her first Paris hat shop in 1910.
At the time, women were trapped in corsets, and fashion was restrictive for women. They couldn't eat, they couldn't breathe. Coco Chanel changed all of that. She looked at it and said, this isn't how a modern woman should dress. This is how men dress us.
Chanel continued to create new innovations, introducing the legendary little black dress in 1926, and was the first designer to ever lend her name to a fragrance.
Chanel No. 5 opened up this whole new channel of business for luxury fashion, and now a lot of the money that luxury fashion labels make is from fragrance and cosmetics.
The little black dress is so incredibly revolutionary. To this day, it's the thing that we go to in our closet.
In 1939, World War II caused Chanel to close her shops, but the end of the war saw her triumphant comeback to the fashion world. Coco Chanel died in 1971 at the age of 87, but today there are more than 300 Chanel stores worldwide, and the Chanel empire sells almost $3 billion in product each year.
She is the epitome of classic woman. There will be no other Chanel.
Gianni Versace was an Italian designer bred to design for the sizzling Miami nightlife. Born on December 2nd, 1946, in Reggio Calabria, Italy, Versace was one of 3 children who grew up in their mother's dress shop.
Fashion was a family business for Versace because he was immersed into it from his childhood.
After moving to Milan and working for several Italian fashion houses, Versace opened his own boutique in 1978.
Gianni Versace made a name for himself in the fashion industry by creating very body-conscious clothing.
It was about skin and about being beautiful and about color and glamour.
Versace's pieces were opulent, often very decadent. Some people actually considered them gaudy.
Versace received accolades for using innovative materials, such as metal mesh, plastic, and rubber, but his creativity truly flourished when he designed for the stage. With several retail clothing lines, a fragrance, and a home signature line, Versace sold a lavish celebrity lifestyle to the masses. On July 15, 1997, Gianni Versace was murdered on the steps of his Miami home by Andrew Cunanan.
He was gunned down, and I think it's still such a shock because he died at his house by someone who we really think was a stalker.
The nature of the shooting was so violent, that in itself was deeply, deeply upsetting. But it was also marking an end of an era.